Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma, and with me is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Quad countries are united by democratic values and commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific at the first Quad Leaders Virtual Summit. Commemoration of the 75th anniversary of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav launched from the Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat. New Delhi and Beijing review the situation along LAC in the western sector, agree to maintain stability at ground level and maintain close communication through diplomatic and military channels. Cabo Verde receives Made in India COVID-19 vaccine under the Vaccine Maitri initiative. UN launches Only Together campaign to support global vaccine equity call. And in T20 cricket, England beat India by 8 wickets in the first of the 5-match series in Ahmedabad. Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi on Friday said Quad countries are united by democratic values and commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Speaking at the first Quad Leaders Virtual Summit this evening, Mr. Modi said the agenda covering areas like vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies makes the Quad a force for global good. He said that he sees this positive vision as an extension of India's ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which regards the world as one family. Mr. Modi added that the Quad countries will work together closer than ever before for advancing shared values and promoting a secure, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific.
We are united by our democratic values and our commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Our agenda today, covering areas like vaccines, climate change and emerging technology, make the Quad a force for global good. I see this positive vision as an extension of India's ancient philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which regards the world as one family. We will work together closer than ever before for advancing our shared values and promoting a secure, stable and prosperous Indo-Pacific.
Mr. Modi, along with US President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, participated in the virtual summit. Briefing media after the summit, Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said the four countries have agreed to a plan to pool their financial resources, manufacturing capabilities and logistical strengths so as to ramp up the manufacture and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines in the Indo-Pacific region. He said this is a special initiative designed to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 among countries in the Indo-Pacific. In his remarks, Prime Minister Modi emphasized that the Quad is a partnership for global grouping. The summit saw the Quad leaders adopt a positive agenda and vision focusing on contemporary issues such as vaccines, climate change and emerging technologies. Mr. Shringla said the fact that the four countries upgraded the Quad conversation to the apex level is by itself the most significant outcome. He said it highlights the importance of international cooperation to address global challenges. The summit was hosted by the US and it was President Biden's first plurilateral engagement. He said the summit provided opportunity for a detailed exchange with President Biden and the other Quad leaders. At the meeting, the four countries emphasized their commitment to the principles that unite them, shared belief in democracy, pluralism, and market-based economic principles. The Foreign Secretary said all four countries are committed to a free, open, inclusive, and rules-based Indo-Pacific region. The discussions also extended to post-pandemic recovery, resilient supply chains, and maritime security. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India's achievements are beneficial not only for India but also for the entire mankind, and they create new hope for the human race. Prime Minister was addressing a special gathering at Sabarmati Gandhi Ashram after launching Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which marks the beginning of the celebrations of the 75th anniversary of India's independence. He also flagged off the reenactment of historic Dandi March from the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
भारत की उपलब्धियां आज सिर्फ हमारी अपनी नहीं है, बल्कि ये पूरी दुनिया को रोशनी दिखाने वाली, पूरी मानवता को उम्मीद जगाने वाली है। भारत की आत्मनिर्भरता से ओतप्रोत हमारी विकास यात्रा पूरी दुनिया की विकास यात्रा को गति देने वाली है। कोरोना काल में ये हमारे सामने प्रत्यक्ष सिद्ध भी हो रहा है। मानवता को महामारी के संकट से बाहर निकालने में, वैक्सीन निर्माण में भारत की आत्मनिर्भरता का आज पूरी दुनिया को लाभ मिल रहा है।
The Prime Minister said that the ideas at 75, achievements at 75, actions at 75 and resolves will give us the inspiration to march forward by fulfilling the dreams of independent India. He said that salt is the symbol of Atmanirbharta. Apart from our values and self-respect, the Britishers had also attacked our salt. Mahatma Gandhi understood the pain of the public and launched the Salt Satyagraha, which took our freedom struggle to the people. He said that development of Atmanirbhar Bharat will also boost the development of the world. He said that India is self-reliant in developing and manufacturing COVID-19 vaccines. The Prime Minister said that India is also helping other nations of the world in their fight against COVID-19. Prime Minister Modi said that people's participation will be the key in the nationwide celebrations of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
आज हमारे स्वाधीनता संग्राम के कितने ही पुण्य तीर्थ, कितने ही पवित्र केंद्र साबरमती आश्रम से जुड़े रहे। स्वाधीनता संग्राम की पराकाष्ठा को प्रणाम करने वाली अंडमान की सेल्यूलर जेल, अरुणाचल प्रदेश से एंग्लो इंडियन वॉर की गवाह केकर मॉर्निंग की भूमि, मुंबई का अगस्त क्रांति मैदान, पंजाब का जलियांवाला बाग, उत्तर प्रदेश का मेरठ, काकोरी और झांसी, देश भर में ऐसे कितने ही स्थान पर आज एक साथ इस अमृत महोत्सव का श्री गणेश हो रहा है।
He appealed to the people to come forward with new ideas and contribute in Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. He said, through this event, everybody is witnessing history.
ये हम सभी का सौभाग्य है कि हम आजाद भारत के इस ऐतिहासिक कालखंड के साक्षी बन रहे हैं। आज दांडी यात्रा की वर्षगांठ पर हम बापू की इस कर्मस्थली पर इतिहास बनते भी देख रहे हैं और इतिहास का हिस्सा भी बन रहे हैं।
The Prime Minister said that Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav means Atmanirbharta Ka Amrit, and it is very fortunate that the Amrit Mahotsav of India is beginning on the anniversary of the historic Dandi March. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the next generation should be made aware of the rich history of the country.
इतिहास साक्षी है कि किसी राष्ट्र का गौरव तभी जागृत रहता है जब वो अपने स्वाभिमान और बलिदान की परंपराओं को अगली पीढ़ी को भी सिखाता है, संस्कारित करता है, उन्हें इसके लिए निरंतर प्रेरित करता है। किसी राष्ट्र का भविष्य तभी उज्जवल होता है जब वो अपने अतीत के अनुभवों और विरासत के गर्व से पल पल जुड़ा रहता है।
Mr. Modi also launched a special website for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in connection with the 75 years of celebration of the Indian independence. People, and particularly the young generation, can share their videos and images on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav on this website. Prime Minister Modi also launched Atmanirbhar Incubator to boast the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Speaking on the occasion, the Minister of State for Culture and Tourism, Prahlad Singh Patel, said that Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav will be a people's movement which will be run by the people of India. He thanked the Prime Minister for taking India on the path of Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said that a chakra has been installed near Magan Nivas at the Sabarmati Ashram. It will rotate full circle with each tweet related to Atmanirbhar Bharat. He also appealed to the people to buy any local product and post a picture on social media using the hashtag Vocal for Local.
India and China on Friday reviewed the situation along the line of actual control in the western sector in the 21st meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs. The two sides had in-depth discussions on the remaining issues along the LAC in the western sector. The Indian delegation was led by Additional Secretary East Asia from the Ministry of External Affairs. The Director General of the Boundary and Oceanic Department of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs led the Chinese delegation. Both sides agreed that the completion of the disengagement in North and South Bank of Pangong Lake provided a good basis to work towards early resolution of remaining issues. They agreed that the agreement reached between the two foreign ministers in Moscow in September last year, as also their recent phone conversation last month, should continue to guide the work of the two sides. The two sides should continue their dialogue to reach a mutually acceptable solution for complete disengagement from all friction points at the earliest. This would enable two sides to look at broader de-escalation of troops in the area and work towards restoration of peace and tranquility in the border areas. They also agreed that in the interim, India and China should continue to maintain stability at ground level and prevent any untoward incident. They agreed to maintain close communication and dialogue through both the diplomatic and military channels. Indian naval ship INS Jalashwa reached the port of Antsiranana, Madagascar on Friday with an Indian naval training team on board. The Indian naval training team will be deployed in Madagascar for capacity building and training of the Malagasy Special Forces for 2 weeks. INS Jalashwa will leave for Comoros to deliver 1,000 metric tons of rice and then will head to the port of Ihola in Madagascar to deliver a consignment of 1,000 metric tons of rice and 100,000 tablets of hydroxychloroquine. The supplies of food assistance and support for capacity building to Madagascar is in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Sagar and India's time-tested role as a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. India has taken up a number of reconstruction and developmental projects in Nepal. The reconstruction work of Dharamshala at Buddha Nilakanta Temple began with Indian assistance in Kathmandu on Thursday. Deputy Chief of the Embassy of India to Nepal, Srimati Namgya C. Khampa and Shri Sushil Gyawali, CEO of National Reconstruction Authority of Nepal, jointly laid foundation stone.
The reconstruction of Dharamshala at Buddha Nilakanta is the third of 28 cultural heritage conservation and restoration projects being undertaken with a reconstruction of 5,800 million Nepali rupees committed by the Government of India for the cultural heritage sector. All the 28 sites were identified by the Government of Nepal, and both India and Nepal signed an MOU in this regard in August 2017. The Dharamshala at Buddha Nilakanta is expected to facilitate visit of pilgrims and tourists visiting this sacred temple. India has been working with Nepal for restoration of cultural heritage projects in the past too. Earlier, in November 2019, the Matadhish building for Buddha Nilakanta Temple, built under India's Development Cooperation Scheme at a total cost of 22 million Nepali rupees. In a statement, the Embassy of India in Kathmandu said, India is committed to work with Nepal in the conservation and restoration of cultural heritage sites in Nepal to preserve the living cultural heritage sites to their past glory. Niharika Bhuvania for World News Desk, All India Radio.
India's permanent representative to the United Nations, T.S. Tirumurti, has said that India remains strongly committed to the cause of global food security. He said there is an urgent need for the donor community to scale up assistance to conflict-affected countries. Speaking at the United Nations Security Council open debate on conflict and food security, the Indian envoy on Thursday said that India has always stepped forward to extend aid amounting to millions of tons of food grains to several vulnerable countries across the world. Mr. Tirumurti informed the UNSC that India, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, provided food aid in the form of thousands of metric tons of wheat, rice, pulses and lentils to several countries across the world. Citing a quote from Indian scriptures which says, Annam Brahma, that is, food is God, Mr. Tirumurti added, India remained committed to providing assistance to all vulnerable countries to support them in their quest for food security. The first meeting of the BRICS Contact Group on Economic and Trade Issues, CGETI, was held under India's chairship from the 9th to the 11th this month. The theme of BRICS this year is BRICS at 15, Intra-BRICS Cooperation for Continuity, Consolidation and Consensus. India presented the calendar of events for BRICS CGETI 2021, which included the priority areas for deliverables, schedule and scope of the MSME Roundtable Conference Workshop on Services Statistics, and the BRICS Trade Fair. Till September, intersessional deliberations will be carried out to reach consensus amongst the BRICS countries. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Three steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, has assured full support to the world of Ayurveda. He said the current situation presents the right time for Ayurveda and traditional medicine to become even more popular globally. Addressing the Global Ayurveda Festival this evening, Mr. Modi said people are realizing the benefits of Ayurveda and its role in boosting immunity. Mr. Modi added that the WHO has also announced the setting up of the Global Center for Traditional Medicine in India, and students from various countries are coming to India to study Ayurveda and traditional medicines. Mr. Modi said this is the ideal time to think about worldwide wellness. India continues to deliver on its promise to help the world fight COVID-19 through supply of made-in-India vaccines. Under Vaccine Maitri initiative, the Cabro bird on Friday received made-in-India vaccines. India has supplied over 585 million doses of made-in-India vaccines to nearly 70 countries till date. Out of the total, nearly 8 million doses have been supplied free of cost as grant aid to 35 countries, whereas 164 million doses have been supplied under the COVAX facility route to around 18 countries. COVAX is a unique global collaboration with more than two-thirds of the countries in the world engaged together in order to ensure equitable supply of COVID vaccines. The Ministry of External Affairs has informed that over 339 million vaccine doses have also been sent to 15 different countries on commercial basis. India began its Vaccine Maitri to supply COVID vaccine to different nations more than 1.5 months ago. Following requests from various countries for the supply of Indian-manufactured vaccines, the government had started the supply of COVID vaccine on 20th January to Bhutan, Maldives, Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar and Seychelles under the grant assistance. The External Affairs Ministry has said that this is being done in keeping with India's stated commitment to using India's vaccine production and delivery capacity to help everyone fight the COVID pandemic. More than 261 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered to the beneficiaries in India so far. The Health and Family Welfare Ministry has informed on Friday that 480,000 doses of vaccines have been administered to the beneficiaries in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate declined to 96.85% with a total recovery of more than 15,000 patients within the last 24 hours. Now let us take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world.
World Health Organization said on Friday that the agency's expert advisory committee is currently looking at AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine after some countries paused its distribution. WHO added that there is no reason not to use AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Portugal's government on Thursday announced that it would start to gradually ease its strict rules from next week. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said on Friday that all coronavirus restrictions lifted from its largest city, Auckland, after no locally transmitted cases of coronavirus were reported for 2 weeks. The United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said that more than 98 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the country as of Thursday morning. The Japanese Transport Minister Kazuyoshi Akaba has said that government intends to introduce a daily limit on the number of people arriving in the country to 2,000 to control the possible spread of new coronavirus strains and ensure the effectiveness of current related restrictions. Niharika Bhuvani of our World News Desk, All India Radio.
The United Nations has launched a new global campaign, Only Together, aiming to advance fair and equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines worldwide. We have a report.
The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday launched the campaign Only Together. The initiative underscores the need for global solidarity to ensure vaccines are accessible in all countries, initially targeting healthcare workers and the most vulnerable. Expressing concern over a small number of rich countries are rolling out a majority of the doses, Mr. Guterres emphasized that COVID-19 vaccines must be considered a global public good.
COVID-19 vaccines must be considered a global public good. No country can overcome this crisis in isolation. Governments and businesses must share doses and technology so supply goes further and distribution goes faster. COVAX, the Global Vaccine Initiative, is our best way to do just that. So let's make it happen. Only together can we protect healthcare workers and the world's most vulnerable people. Only together can we revive our economies. Only together can we end this pandemic and recover. And then, together, we can all get back to the things we love.
With the biggest vaccine rollout in the history now underway, millions of doses are being delivered across the globe through the COVAX, the UN-led Global Vaccine Equity Mechanism. By the end of 2021, COVAX aims to offer vaccines to about a third of each participating country's population. Niharika Bhuvania for World News, All India Radio.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday outlined his plan to make all adults vaccine eligible by the 1st of May and get the country closer to normal by the 4th of July. Speaking at the White House in his first primetime address this morning, President Biden announced moves to speed vaccinations, including directions that state lift qualifications for vaccinations by the 1st of May and expand the number of places and categories of people who can be vaccinated. The president was marking 1 year since the onset of the pandemic that has killed more than 500,000 Americans and disrupted the lives of countless more. He called the past year a collective suffering, a collective sacrifice. President Biden announced that he is deploying an additional 4,000 active duty troops to support vaccination efforts and will allow more people, such as medical students, veterinarians, and dentists, to deliver shots. He is also directing more doses toward some 950 community health centers and up to 20,000 retail pharmacies to make it easier for people to get vaccinated closer to their homes. The U.S. President's speech came hours after he signed into law a $1.9 trillion relief package that he said will help defeat the virus, nurse the economy back to health, and deliver direct aid to the Americans in need. The United Nations has condemned China's continuing assault on democratic institutions in Hong Kong. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday said the changes approved by China's National People's Congress to the Hong Kong electoral system are a direct attack on Hong Kong's autonomy, its freedom, and its democratic process.
We condemn the PRC's continuing assault democratic institutions in Hong Kong. The changes approved by the National People's Congress today on March 11th are a direct attack on Hong Kong's autonomy, its freedoms, and democratic processes, limiting political participation, reducing democratic representation, and stifling political debate in order to defy the clear will in Hong Kong and deny their voice in their own governance.
Meanwhile, China's parliament has approved a draft decision to change Hong Kong's electoral system. These changes will further reduce democratic representation in Hong Kong's institutions and introduce mechanism to vet politicians' loyalty to Beijing. Australia has expressed serious concern at Chinese changes to Hong Kong's electoral system, saying that the reforms weaken Hong Kong's democratic institutions. Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne on Friday in a statement said it is essential that people of Hong Kong have channels to exercise their fundamental freedom of political expression. The UN Women have voiced deep concerns over targeted and disproportionate violence against women being recorded during the crackdown against peaceful protesters in Myanmar. A report.
The UN Women Executive Director, Phumzile Mlambo Nuka, on Friday, in a statement said, "Women have long played a celebrated and vital role in the history of Myanmar. They continue to do so and must not be attacked and punished for the peaceful expression of their views." According to UN Women, at least 6 women lost their lives in the protests and close to 600 women have been arrested. More than 70 people are reported to have been killed and many more wounded in weeks of protests following last month's military takeover and arrests of several elected leaders and officials, including State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win Mint. The head of UN Women also called on the security forces to respect the human rights of women who have been arrested and detained. She has reiterated the call for the immediate release of all detainees. Niharika Bhuvania for World News Desk, All India Radio.
NASA has released the first sound recording of a laser impact on a rock target on Mars. It was recorded by the NASA's Perseverance rover. Variations in the intensity of the zapping sounds will provide information on the physical structure of the targets, such as its relative hardness or the presence of weathering coatings. Scientists are analyzing Mars geology in the search for ancient microbial life. Moving on to business now. Benchmark domestic stocks on Friday fell around 1% amid mixed global cues. The BSE Sensex slipped below 51,000 mark. The rupee appreciated 12 paise against the US currency. A report from the Business World.
Sensex declined by 487 points, or 0.95% to finish at 50,792. The NSE Nifty also lost 144 points, or 0.95% to close at 15,031. The broader market at the BSE outperformed the Sensex as the BSE Mid-Cap Index slipped 0.45%, while the BSE Small Cap Index appreciated marginally by 0.14%. In the Sensex pack, shares of 26 companies fell, while 4 logged gains. In sectoral indices, 15 out of 19 sectors logged losses. In the global equity market, Asian stocks traded mixed. Japan's Nikkei 225 surged 1.7%, South Korea's Kospi climbed 1.4%, and China's Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.5%. On the other hand, Hong Kong's Hang Seng plunged 2.2%, and Singapore's Straits Times Index declined at 0.4%. European shares were down in intraday trade. Brent crude prices fell but hovered near the $70 a barrel mark. In intraday trade, Brent crude prices were trading around $69.60 per barrel. And at the foreign exchange market, the rupee today rose by 12 paise to 72 rupees and 79 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News, All India Radio.
And now moving on to sports. In cricket, England beat India by 8 wickets in the first T20 match at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad tonight. Put to bat first, India scored 124 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs with the help of Shreyas Iyer's 67 runs of 48 balls. In reply, England chased down the target of 125 in 15.3 overs, riding on Jason Roy's 49, Joe Butler's 28 and Johnny Bairstow's 26 not out.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Quad countries are united by democratic values and commitments to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific at the first Quad Leaders Virtual Summit. Commemoration of the 75th anniversary of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav launched from the Sabarmati Ashram in Gujarat. New Delhi and Beijing review the situation along LAC in the western sector, agree to maintain stability at ground level and maintain close communication through diplomatic and military channels. Cabo Verde receives Made in India COVID-19 vaccine under the Vaccine Maitri initiative. UN launches Only Together campaign to support global vaccine equity calls. And in T20 cricket, England beat India by 8 wickets in the first of the 5-match series in Ahmedabad. And in the spirit of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav being launched today, we leave you with this memorable song. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.